I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Here.
Councilman Fazio,
Here.
Councilman Niles,
Here.
Supervisor Molino.
Here. Okay, got the roll call on. The first thing we're gonna, we have a possible appointment for a zoning appointment part-time. And anyone like to make the recommendation, and this will be in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What's that?
Say it again, please.
It's a possible possible resolution, doesn't have a name yet, Tony McCutcheon, to be on the part-time zoning board.
I'll make the motion. No, second it.
Is this the motion to appoint him? or-
No, put it to the meeting.
We
To
don't-
this,
we don't need a motion to it for the meeting.
You don't have to have a motion, no, but if this is going to be something on for a resolution for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
this, he had a couple of questions, and we'll try to solve some
Okay,
of
so we'll
those.
put it on there.
Give us a couple of weeks more.
We don't have to have a resolution put it on,
Okay, well, should,
Very well.
right?
Okay, there'll be a resolution at the next meeting. Right? This should, well, we should be doing it at the next meeting, which would be our agenda meeting.
right.
Not this.
So
one.
this is our,
This-
Yeah, right.
for next
The next
meeting
week.
for the resolution, so it should be written up as a resolution when you read it.
Right.
Am I saying something wrong? Oh, everybody's looking at me.
Okay.
Because they're so cute.
It just says possible resolution for October 11th meeting. That's it. Okay, so we're gonna put that one on. The next items we have is, excuse me, is we will also need, this is just information. We're not voting on it now. It's a resolution to pay the bills. That has to be on in 2 weeks. A resolution to accept the minutes. A resolution to set a special meeting to receive the budget on October 5th.
We need to do that tonight.
That we have to do tonight. Okay. That's by law. It has to be into the town clerk by the 30th. And then she has to present it to the board by October the 5th. So I need a motion to
Set a special meeting.
set a special meeting for
I'll
October.
make second it.
And we got a second.
For when? October fifth?
No, just, I was told to say, it's right here. Yeah,
I just said by October
yeah,
fifth.
by
If
October,
you want to
okay.
do it on the fifth, that's perfect.
Yeah, okay, maybe if the word is by, so anybody have a agreement not to do it on the 5th? It's a Wednesday night. Already checked it out. And, you?
It's fine with me.
Okay, so let's move,
7 PM,
You know,
we'll do it at what time?
7 PM or
7
earlier,
p.m.
whatever.
That's good, whatever is good for them, 7, right? 7 p.m.
so Wednesday, October 5th, 7
Yeah.
p.m.
Okay,
Yeah.
who made the motion?
Mr. Fazio.
Okay, and
I'll
second,
second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, carried.
And just a couple of, we need a resolution tonight to pay the bill for Mountain Medical. I'm gonna check this out tomorrow, but
It's the contract.
yeah, it's the contract.
You don't have to pass it to me.
No, it's got to go on the resolution then. Okay, then we'll put it on for next week's resolution. Couple of questions I need to ask. Now, the last one is, which we have to, I'll leave it up to the attorney now on the Bruno on the dam. We all got your email and you were satisfied with the new version of the contract,
Right, yeah, there was a resolution that was passed last week.
right?
So the language that I provided to Cindy was for the resolution that was adopted last week.
All right, you all received that, right?
Yes.
You all read it? That was basically what he agreed on when we talked to him on the phone.
Right.
We got it.
So we already passed it.
Well, I didn't think we passed it, but okay.
yeah,
You
you
say
passed
we
it.
passed it, that's good with me.
So that means you can sign the contract, right?
Gotta let them know because it's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'll call them tomorrow morning. All right. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. The only thing else I'm gonna have is I passed you out, got a call from Mr. Burgess, Superintendent of School. He said people were questioning about why Highland Drive is not a school zone. and he'd like to get that done as a school zone and reduce the speed, which I explained to him, that's not our regulations. I have to call the county tomorrow and have them fill out paperwork that goes to the state. And I also let them know that in my tenure here, we've tried to lower school speed limits, things 6 times at least, and we lost every one of them. So it's up to the state. So he understands that. And the only other thing, I got a call from a new company that's taken over for the snowmobile races that we used to have here. They were canceled for the last 2 years. They would see if the town of Lake Luzerne was interested with the snowmobile club or a firehouse. I know they helped out last time. To work with him to put on the snowmobile races on or about the first weekend in February. So I told him I'd bring it tonight's board. And we can let them know in 2 weeks after we pass a resolution to do it or not to do it. And first I'll give it to the board. Do you gentlemen have anything to bring up, Tim?
I have nothing. What's the, besides the snowmobile races, I believe that's always was excellent for the community. So we're gonna have that as a resolution that we'd like to have that as a
He's
resolution.
got to
that the
make a
board-
contract for us, yeah.
Okay,
And then we can, so I'll call him tomorrow, have him make a contract and have it ready. for 2 weeks.
absolutely.
Mike, you have anything?
I know.
You have anything?
Just one little thing, the technical advisory committee that's redoing the master plan. They want to do a survey and they want to use Survey Monkey. I guess it's a program to do a survey. $99 for 3 months, so about $300. I know we don't even need to talk about it, we just want to see if anybody has any problem with that.
No,
All right, and the last thing would be just a little presentation on the plans the folk school has. I think we've talked about it already and I've seen the pictures. They want to build a building. And we will have to accept some property from open spaces, which they're willing to give back to the town. And, but I'll let them, why don't you come up and talk about it?
Thank you. Supervisor Molino, board members, I'm John Cerveny. I'm a resident of the town. I'm also serve as president of the board of the folk school for the last couple of years. I'm joined tonight, Scott Hayden, our executive director, and another member of our board, Steve Gersler, who is immediate past city engineer for the city of Glens Falls, retired and now on our board and helping out. I'm just here to ask that have the board consider, based on conversations we've had and really based on really good enrollment. So in a sense, the whole COVID shutdown was really good for us. We people, got the itch to learn things and do things and get out and so our enrollment has been really strong. So good, in fact, that we have extra space that we were given a very reasonable rent over in the Lake George outlets. So we have additional space there for some of our bigger classes. We teach a canoe class where people build canoes, and it requires a lot of space that won't fit in our current building here. What we would like to do based on that, real strong interest is actually build another building on the site where we sit now. So the current building has been great for us. We made the most of that space. We're at a stage in our growth where we think having a purpose-built building is the right answer for us moving forward. So I don't want to spend a lot of time outlining all this tonight. We can certainly answer any questions you have.
Did you bring that picture?
We did do just a
Oh, small one?
conceptual drawing. So if you're familiar with the parking lot that our building sits on, we want to put a building directly off the end of that. So down in the direction of our blacksmith shop. And if you don't mind, I can pass this around. So this is a very quick concept drawing of what that building could look like. It's somewhat complicated because the way the current tax parcels for that property are, the building that we're in sits on one parcel. The other half of the parking lot and all of the property to the south of that is another parcel. And based on conversations with Karen Putney and John Karimsky, they suggested we come to you to ask that you might consider merging those two parcels into one parcel. So that we don't have issues with setbacks and crossing a parcel line with the new building. So that we're here to ask that if you would consider merging those two parcels. There is, Supervisor Merlino mentioned the Open Space Institute has a conservation easement on the bigger parcel to the south. We've had conversations with them. They're very agreeable to allowing the use of that easement to include our building, the proposed building. So there's a couple of kind of challenging pieces to this story. But fundamentally, we think it's a good use. We bring a lot of people to town. We had just under 1,000 students last year. We're on track to cross that number this year. The demand is really strong. We think we have a much greater opportunity than we've seen in years. And there is a similar school that we often kind of look at out in the upper part of Minnesota called the North House School, and they're honestly 3.5 hours north of Minneapolis, so they are almost Canada. That school, which offers similar classes in a lot of ways and is similar to what we do here, draws about 3,000 students a year. And so that's, if you want to go and take a class there, you have to really want to go there. We're a lot more centrally located. We've got a proximity to a lot more people. So we think the opportunity here is really good. We think that our ability to fill that new building with classes and with students, have them come here, stay here, eat while they're here, is all very real. So
Would that, John, would that bring everything back to the main campus?
yeah, and that's really our goal. We love this setting. We love this space. We love being here in Luzerne. The folk school was born out of the last master plan activity back in 2009. So our founder, Jim Mandel, saw the opportunity to do something with that building that would create a center here in town. And we've built on that sense, and it's gone well. And we've kind of, in a sense, we've outgrown the space we have. So we're really looking to expand the space on a campus here in Lake Luzerne.
And the only other comment I'll make is none of these board members were on way back when we started this project. And we can get out the whole resolution. Whatever the folk school builds on our property, they happen to go out of business, it all stays and it's under the ownership of the town of Lake Luzerne. So whatever they invest in that property and they go out of business and they move on, it stays here for us to move on with something else there or whatever the case may be. So I just wanted the gentleman to know that.
Do we have to guarantee them a certain length of time
No, we have.
with that? I mean, we had.
We did it, oh,
discussions.
well, yeah, we did it, we have something coming up next year, right? Scott, a 5-year, every 3 years, okay, it'll come up again.
But didn't we have verbiage, Gene, or something we talked about, something they had to apply for some grants, and then you guys were looking for like a 25-year deal that would help you secure
Yeah.
grants
Right.
because of.
We did
That's
have a conversation 2 years ago, or about almost that,
Mhm.
where we did have that, and we'd love to. Our current lease gives us through 20. So it's in 3-year increments, 3-year periods, but I think we're in the third of 6, Scott. So that's 18 total years, and that started in, I think, 2016. So we have until 2032 with the current lease. We'd be happy to extend that, and if the town would want to consider that, we think that would be great.
I
And you-
think you remember that, because that's what they were looking for,
Right.
because there are donors that want to donate enough money to get this stuff done, but afraid that
Right.
uh,
They want to say.
2 years from now, we'll tell them they can't use it anymore.
What about funding for this? I mean, do you guys have your own funds, or do you have to go to banks to get the funding? Is that least going to be a problem with the bank to look at that? or-
It's a combination of funds. We've applied for successfully some grant funding. So we've got a couple of grants that are going to help support this. We've got others that we're applying for. We also have donors who have already made significant contributions, and we think we can close that gap and hopefully minimize any kind of a loan or that we would have to pay down to pay for this. We're in a strong position financially from the last 2 years of revenues. We feel pretty solid about our ability to make this happen.
And none of it's predicated on having a long-term lease?
Not yet, and so the loan, there could be restrictions there that would say we need to have a 25 40-year lease in place.
I mean, it would make sense that they would, right? I mean, if the
Yeah.
town can change their mind, you get a different supervisor, different board, all of a sudden attitudes change after 2 years, you just spend all this money and we say, thanks very much for that beautiful building. Have a good day. That wouldn't be good, right?
That's right. Yeah, agree.
Would the building be a classroom project?
It is where we have conceptual drawings together now, mostly thanks to Steve here. We have thought about the kinds of classes we want to offer and the kinds of space those classes require. What we're thinking is a lower level that would be accessible from the rear. So like a basement level that would have heavy machinery in it. So big equipment for woodworking and things like that. That'd be one large classroom space and where we could teach and do fabrication. Upstairs, we're thinking dividing the space into 3 partitionable, open and closed partitions that would allow us to offer as many as 4 classes in that building all at the same time. And that would be great because that's scheduling is always hard. When you can get the instructors are the key to our business, and so finding them when they have time open is the key to making this all work. If we can double book on a weekend into the same building, that will help us a lot.
So what's the next step?
In order to proceed and really, get the approvals, this parcel question has to be resolved. So we have to decide, either moving that boundary line or at Karen's suggestion was to actually just combine the parcels, to merge those 2 parcels. And that gives us, because of the requirements for square footage per acreage for building density, by combining the parcels, we'd have plenty of overhead if we ever wanted to come back 10, 20 years from now and say, hey, we really could use another building. And that would be a question for another time, but it would leave us that option on the table.
We
without
didn't want to get into all of it tonight, but part of the problem is that the property that the old town hall is on and the blacksmith shop is in Hamlet Commercial. The property that is right next to that is in Hamlet Residential. So there's 2 different zones there. That's one of the issues. The other issue is where they want to place this building. It's over that zone line. It's over the property line between the 2 buildings. So we started talking about doing a boundary line adjustment. When I realized that it's also over zone lines, we need to somehow fix that. And we're looking at that. The other issue is that when they had the survey done, because we were looking at wetlands in that area and they have to work around the wetlands, we've discovered that some of the blacksmith shop is over the property line onto the adjoining property, which is, there's 2 parcels there, the one that most of the school is on, and then all the rest of the property around it. So if we merge those 2 into one parcel, it would take care of all of the issues except for the zoning issues. And I've been talking to our council about that, and we have some thoughts on what to do about that, if we need to do anything about that. But that's what generated this whole conversation about whether to do a boundary line adjustment or to merge the 2 properties. And it really makes more sense to merge the properties than to do a boundary line adjustment. Because in order to do a boundary line adjustment, you have to take enough property out of the other zone to include it in there. It's just very confusing with the 2 zones being side by side right there. It makes more sense to combine the 2 lots and we'll take care of the zoning issue, the zone district issue. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it tonight because you've got to do a public presentation anyway, but.
So yeah, on the drawing I just handed out, the current parcel that we sit on is outlined in blue, that blue line. And so the parcel around it is the one we're asking to merge, that could have you consider merging.
What about the river? Is there any concern or something that we can or can't do because of the river being right there?
So we actually had we hired CT Mail to do an assessment of the wetlands question, because the map that Karen's pulled up a couple of meetings ago showed that APA had a rough boundary where wetlands came across the end of the parking lot. And knowing the property, we suspected that wasn't really wetland. So we hired CT Mail to come and do an assessment. They did that. We provided a report, and their assessment from their biology engineer was that there are no wetlands present on that property. So we have that in hand. We still have to go forward with that to get APA to decide that that is the case, that we can build there. So it's a, this is another step on the path.
Were they basing upon that hurricane that we had 10 so years ago where everything was underwater down there? I mean, it's.
Yeah, so flooding and wetlands, I guess, are two different questions. There is a flood issue. Steve, yeah, feel free. Former wastewater engineer too. so.
Anyway, the park agency delineated these wetlands based on soil maps and aerial photos. They didn't really do anything when they did it, so they're very approximate. So that's why we hired CPML to come in with a wetland biologist to identify and check the soil types and the plant life, et cetera, to look for any wetland boundaries. And it's any wetlands on the parcels are far down below near the Hudson. So we're in good shape to make that argument with the park agency. But before we make that argument with the park agency, we think we've got to resolve the property issue and make sure that the town is on board with what we like to do and give us the ability to move ahead.
Nice. Thank you.
Any other questions, Jim?
Have you, just one question, the anticipated, have you anticipated any additional parking needed? The parking lot's only so big.
We've talked about that. We think, and the only time we've had issues to date have been, if we had an event going, where it was a lot of people on one day. We have more classes. Our classes are small, so generally our classes don't have more than 5 to 8 people per class. It's part of what we do well. And we don't want to change that. We don't want to suddenly.
Yeah. Cause I noticed that the property line that competes with the basketball court parking there
Right.
for the public that can park there and
Yeah,
use the
yeah.
basketball and tennis courts too. So
Right.
that even takes a third of the parking out.
Yeah, and there is the on-street parking option there. There is a lot just down the road that could be used for overflow parking. So I think there's options, and if we, if the planning board told us we needed to do more parking, we'd find a way to make that happen. But no, I agree.
Yeah, I took a look at that, John, briefly, and I looked at it. It's very generously striped. There are like 12-foot wide parking spaces right now. And we could just go down to a 9-foot space, which is standard size space we find it in a shopping center, and add about 20 spots to the existing parking. So that was one of the things that I did look at. I think with that and on-street parking, we'd be able to accommodate the park use as well.
Another reason Steve's a good guy to have on the board.
Yeah. What about the open space guys? Have they committed to any long-term?
Yeah, they were really receptive to the idea of, essentially, they said, send us a sketch, and it's a staff level approval based on the interpretation of the way the easement is written in. So they were really on board with this. It was in that same conversation that they offered another parcel.
Yeah,
On
we've
River Road.
been meeting with them for a year and a half. There's another parcel on River Road that they want to throw in. I think 8 acres, 8 acres, to give it to the town to use it for something else. So, because I think what's happened to open spaces, they were getting less and less people working there, and they're trying to consolidate some of the smaller hunks of property that they got around all over the place. So that I didn't sound like they were in any disagreement with when we proposed this, so.
Good.
That's why we've got to keep moving forward a little at a time, so.
I hope it works.
I do too. It's a very successful project.
Yeah, we certainly want to stay here and continue to grow.
Yeah, we don't want them going to Queensbury anymore.
You in that strip mall over by the log jam, right? That's,
Yeah, right behind Log Jam.
you're looking to eliminate that location and
Yeah.
bring, what's that, just your offices or something? or-
It's actually where we do the canoe class now.
Oh,
It's
okay.
big enough I mean, one thing that told us was it's great to have good space. If we had a bigger room with higher ceilings and better lighting, it just is a better experience for the students, for the instructors, for everybody. So the students and instructors love that space. We just finished a class over there over the weekend that had 5 students building 5 canoes over a 2-week period.
Thanks.
Came out great.
And I talked to Scott, one of those were one of my in guests that come every year and he got hooked on it.
Oh, it was Gus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
sure.
come and he showed me, he was all proud of it.
Yeah.
So,
That space is very similar to this room up here.
yeah.
No,
All right, any other questions, gents?
Thank
All
you.
right, so we'll move on a little bit more.
Great.
We gotta get a few more things settled and we can get it all together. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
You gentlemen have anything else? Karen, anything?
No, I will have just one item for the meeting different than my normal stuff in that I've done the yearly inspections of the campgrounds and manufactured home parks. I'll have to get just a approval of my report on that so that we can send out the operating permits for the year.
Ron, you got anything to bring up so we can put it on the agenda next time on the meeting, next 2 weeks from now? Nothing.
Very well.
Just ask the question. If you have anything that you have that you want on the agenda next week, 2 weeks.
I don't have anything, Rosie, I just wanted to bring up, that L Riley, he bringing up state contract and everything, and if we find a dealership that's on state contract, we can't just go there and buy that. Times has changed since he's retired in 2011. So Monday, I am meeting with Julie from the Warren County, and I'm gonna learn this process. This process is called mini bid. So I will learn this process and get back to you on this, and hopefully it'll be easy enough for us to do. So
Thank you, Ron.
that's all I got.
All right, you got a motion?
Okay. Motion?
You got a second?
We have to go to executive session.
Oh.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Saying.
Litigation.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. We're not adjourned, but we're gonna go into executive session. And nothing will be voted on when we come out. We'll just close the meeting. You wanna have the wording you need?
Yeah, we need a motion to go into executive session, to discuss ongoing litigation.
Make a motion.
Second.
You got it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, we're in executive session. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. And I actually,
Very
we're
welcome.
done, yeah. Yeah, you'll be done, because the only thing we're gonna do is come out, it's just adjourn.